Hi, Crystal and Frank here with Studio One Pilates and Performance. We want to teach you guys some partner stretching. I'm going to stretch Frank and see if we can get him a little bit more limber and using some PNF stretching, so we kind of go back and forth. We work on the tightening of the muscle and the lengthening of the muscle. Okay. So we'll start with the hamstring stretch. So he's going to lie on his back. Now on this one, lying on his back, trying to keep that neutral, he's going to send one leg to the ceiling. I'm going to put this foot kind of comfortably on my shoulder right through here. I'm going to try and gently pull on the quad so I get that knee to be straight. And he's in some of a stretch. Do you feel stretch yet? So he feels a little bit of a stretch already, so I don't want to just push him all the way over. I'm going to gently push my body weight towards him until he says mercy. And we're looking at just lengthening through this hamstring. If he feels uncomfortable, then he's not going to get a good stretch, so I don't want to go too fast. And then when we get to a certain point where he feels a lot of stretch, we're going to back up and just stay there for a little bit. A little more? Okay, so that's about all he's got. So we're now to the ceiling. So this couple of partner stretching is really great for those that are less flexible and can't quite get a good stretch on their own, that they need some help. If you're pretty flexible, then this is not going to work very much.
There you go. And it doesn't take much to add a lot to the stretch, especially if you're really tight.
You got to be really careful that you don't just expect them to be able to stretch or not stretch or what have you. If I give in too much for him, I could really hurt him. So now this next one, I'm going to back it up a little bit. I'm going to grab onto his tippy toes, and I'm going to pull on his calf, pull on his foot to get his calf to stretch. And this one I'm pulling as much as I can to where I find some facial expressions. Good. And then we're going to release it. We're going to do it again. So pull it. Now guys, as you're stretching this position, you got to make sure that you're watching your body posture. So I've got my knees not quite locked. They're just a little bit bent. I've got my spine in neutral, my abdominals engaged. Good, good. And I'm watching for his cues. Good. So now we're going to go back to that hamstring stretch. So now we're going to work on PNF. So I'm going to push it a little bit, and then he's going to push back and resist me. So he's going to push, I'm going to stabilize, and then he's going to relax. He's going to push for 2 or 3 seconds. Do it again, and we'll do it 2 times, and then rest. Now he's going to stay relaxed while I push a little bit more. Now once I get to about here, I can start to feel some more muscles twitching, so I'm trying not to push too hard and just work on the relax. You got to make sure that they stay in their breath, so you try to cue them to relax so they can breathe, and then right back down. All right? You just did a big stretch, so I'm going to help him put his foot back down, and we're going to change sides. All right, so leg goes up. I'm going to support my abdominals. I'm going to inch him forward just a little bit, trying not to let his shoulders come up, relaxing through his breath. Good. When we first started this one, his knee would buckle quite a bit, so I had to hold on to his knee quite a bit. So I've gotten him nice and trained now, so that's very nice. So we're going to hang out here for a little bit.
And if you're the person being stretched, again, she's saying use your breath. I want you to breathe and relax, and especially as you breathe out, you're trying to let those muscles that are being stretched relaxed. And then, like, if you're like me, where things are really tight in certain areas, like, you're going to feel that maybe like here, I feel the back of my knee all the way down. As she pulls, I can feel it actually go up into my hip and into my back a little bit. So I'm trying to relax and let all that stuff go. Good. And the same thing, when we start to do the PNF part, where I start to push back a little bit, that's good. I'm not pushing very hard, but I'm using my hamstring to push her back.
Now push, 3, 2, 1, and then relax, and then one more, and push, 2, 3. And you guys be careful if you've got this person down here that's pretty strong and they happen to push quite a bit, because it's going to push a lot of pressure on you. So make sure you stabilize and you're ready when you go. All right, so I'm going to push one more time. No PNF, just stretch. Good. And I think you guys can probably see that we started quite a bit lower, and then as we work on this stretching and going back and forth and the little tug back and forth, it starts to release some of those muscles even more. Now this next we're going to do is the hip stretch, so a figure 4. So across the ankle, I'm going to bring this leg right in front of my quads. Now on this one I'm trying to keep him square. This side's a little bit better than the other side. We'll see what happens on the other side. Now I'm trying to keep this knee. I don't want you guys to mess with this knee unless it really collapses forward. Then you can kind of push it out. But just keep it relaxed and where it wants to go, and then work on pushing here. You should feel in this leg that's bent on the outer thigh, maybe in the hamstring, just depending on where you're tight. Now when I push him too much, his hips come up, so I've gone too far. So this one I'm trying to push down and in, as opposed to just going forward with it. And again, I'm being mindful of my abdominals, keeping your back supported. If you're not strong enough to do this for a long time in this position as a stretcher, then be careful about that. Get yourself strong enough and rest in between. Okay, other side. This one he has a tendency to want to go slightly crooked, so foot goes in the middle, and then just there. And then just as far as I know that he's ready to release in that stretch so he can give, he's got to relax in it. Good more?
Yeah.
And I've got to do my best not to just let go at any one given point. He's got to trust me. He's got to make sure that he can relax and release. So if I just happen to let go or go somewhere else, then he's going to get hurt. So got to stay focused. All right, the next one is an overhead stretch. So I'm going to have him come up to sitting, turn around, face the other way. This one, he's going to throw his feet towards the ceiling. I'm going to grab onto his ankles. You're going to stay there. And now I'm going to pull his feet towards me. I'm not going to pull with my lower back. I'm going to pull with my arms. And I'm looking for his back this time to round and to stretch. This one we have found is a really nice stretch for his back and his hamstrings. You're doing your best not to twist back and forth. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. So each time that he gets a little bit farther, I'm going to cue his chin to make sure his chin stays tucked. I'm also not trying to pull him over as far as possible. I'm trying to reach his feet down towards the floor a little bit. And I'm trying not to let him help me, just to stretch. You okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now he's pretty flexible enough now to get all the way over there. If you guys are not, let's say that you can just get to here. It's going to be a lot of pressure on the standing person. So if he bends his knees a little bit, that will help me not have to push and pull so far on my body. And that still gets him a decent stretch if you need to work on that one. And our goal, now straighten. Our goal is to be able to get those tippy toes all the way over towards the floor. Not necessarily to touch the floor, but just to lengthen all the way through, and you see that adjustment through. So here's my goal, that he can get over here and he can hold it on his own. And then right back down. Nice job. All right, so now he's going to come up to sitting. We're going to do a spine stretch, so both legs are straight. Now on this one, this one's one of his favorites. Fold yourself forward, reach for your toes. So this one, what I try to work on is getting the shoulder blades to stretch. So I kind of knead him back and forth a little bit as I go. And I don't know if you guys can see this in the camera, but one side is a little bit tighter than the other. So I kind of work that out a little bit if you guys can see that. Otherwise, just barely push forward as you go. I'm not trying to push much body weight into it, just the arm power that I have. And today's doing pretty good. Sometimes he's pretty tight and can't get that far. I noticed that his lower back gets tight after a run or after not running for a while. And then we've got to work on this guy a little bit. One place that I keep working is just right in those shoulder blades. So I feel like if you can get the shoulder blades to release, that will help the lower back and the hamstrings to release as well. Everything is connected at some point or another. Sorry. All right, the next one he's going to do, he's just going to stay seated. You're going to grab a foam roller for this one. I'll show you how to do it without the foam roller if you don't have one. Hands go behind his head. Now in this one, you're going to stick the foam roller right up against his lower back, and you got to brace it so it doesn't slide out from underneath him. He's going to do his best not to push me over, and I'm going to pull his elbows backwards to get his sternum to stretch, his pecs to stretch, and to open up through his chest. He's going to pull his head backwards a little bit and just stretch, okay? Now, a common issue here, so do that and then let your ribs go, is that your ribs come off the mat or off the foam roller and then come back in. So then you're bowing and you're bending, so try not to make that one happen. Good, pull the chin back, keep the ribs tight, and you're gonna get so much more stretch, so much more out of it if you can keep your spine straight. All right, now if we don't have the foam roller, you just gotta stick yourself up against the leg. So put your leg up against it, put your hands behind, and you get a little bit different stretch. I'm not quite as strong coming up and over this way as I can with the foam roller, but it still does a decent stretch. Good. And then the last one we're gonna work on, I've got two more actually. Turn and face me. Now we're gonna work on a straddle stretch. So scoot back quite a bit. This one we're gonna take the legs out to the side. I'm gonna put my feet on the inside of his ankles. And I'm gonna open him as far as he can go. Then, oh, look at that, I got some more. So he's just working on sitting up. So if he can sit up, then we're gonna grab a wrist, we're gonna hold on quite a bit, and we're just gonna work on sitting up. And as I sit up, or as he sits up, my leg starts to pull him to stretch the inner thighs a little bit more, okay? And if you see, we're just inching, maybe not even inching, just barely moving back and forth to get a little bit more stretch. And now his lower back is able to go. Good. Make sure you are communicating. So this should be a major inner thigh stretch. It's a lot of lower back stretch and strength to get up here. All right, so now he's going to relax his stretch. He's going to come towards me, and I'm going to pull him, and my goal is to get him to flatten on the floor at some point. More? Now on this one, I've got to make sure I keep my abdominals engaged, because if one point he says, back it up, then I have to be ready to come back up. I can't just hang out and hang here just yet. It's not quite flexible enough. Good, more? More. As I pull, I also stretch those inner thighs, stretch those feet away from each other. Good. And then take your time. So the stretcher's got to be the one that's in control and making sure everything's doing well. All right, so now last one is a quad stretch on your stomach. So head goes this way. Now this next one, guys, you can probably do it on your own. It's really helpful if you have a little bit more tension to work on it. So I'm going to help him do his quad stretch. So bend this front knee first. Now on this one, you're trying to get just a little bit of relax in the hip, drawing that heel towards your sits bone, towards your glute. Good, more? Good, I'm being mindful of where I'm pushing, so his ankle is able to relax. I'm on the top of his ankle, the bottom of his shin. So now I'm going to have him push against me, trying not to go too hard. Push against me, push it out, and then right back down. Good, oh, that was hard. Okay, and then one more time, push it, and then right back down. All right, so 2 times in that PNF. We're going to go back to that stretch. I'm doing my best to keep that in alignment. If the leg is going all crazy, then hold it with both hands. Make sure that you get a little bit more support that way. Good. Now I'm also making sure that his knee doesn't go out to the side, so his leg's coming right out from underneath him. All right, other side. Good, ready? So we'll stay in that quad stretch for just a little bit. He's got to lengthen through his lower back. Guys, this is really important to get the front of that hip and that quad to stretch so it releases your lower back. Okay, he's going to push and then rest. Okay, and then push and then rest. Okay, and now he's just going to relax in that stretch. Good, I'm doing my best not to over push. He's trying to keep his alignment. Good, and then right back in. All right, so those are just a few partner stretches that you can work on. Again, like I said, it needs to be on somebody that's not quite flexible. So he was a very good contender for this one, getting all the way up there. But be really mindful that you're not over pushing or overdoing what you think that they should be or should not be doing. Some people's feeling doesn't always match up with their flexibility. So they might feel way more tight than they actually are. So just be able to communicate and go back and forth. We've done this quite a few times, so it was kind of easy for us to know the little signs and what have you. But anything else?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, thanks.